The Grand Assembly Hall on the capital world of the Galactic Council stretched into crystalline heights that defied human engineering. Ambassador Helen Davids felt the weight of 1,000,000,000,000 eyes as she approached the central podium, her ceremonial robes whispering against the floor polished smooth by 1,000 years of diplomatic footsteps. This was humanity's third annual session since joining the Council, and tensions had never been higher. Around her, representatives from over 200 worlds occupied their designated places in a vast amphitheater. Some floated in atmospheric bubbles, others perched on specialized seats accommodating their unique physiologies. Most impressive among them was Councillor Rashawn Vell of the Sorlith Empire, his 6-meter frame towering over the assembly, tendrils of luminescent energy flickering beneath translucent skin. Helen caught the eye of her attaché, Lucas Reeves, who gave her a subtle nod. She'd received the message from Earth just hours ago. If the Council passes the Neural Compliance Initiative, we walk. The words still echoed in her mind as she prepared to address the Assembly. The session began with the usual formalities, but beneath the diplomatic courtesies lay an undercurrent of hostility. Humanity's rapid expansion through unclaimed space had alarmed many older civilizations. In just 80 years since first contact, humans had colonized 24 worlds and established mining operations in several strategically important sectors. What others saw as reckless ambition, Earth saw as survival necessity. President Javier Stone had been clear in his directives. Earth's 12 billion citizens couldn't survive on solar system resources alone. The terraforming projects on Mars, Venus, and the outer moons could only support so much population growth. The math was simple: humanity needed more space, more resources, more opportunity. As the agenda turned to the neural compliance modules, Councillor Vell rose to speak. His voice resonated through the chamber like distant thunder. Esteemed members of the Council, he began, we gather today to address a growing threat to galactic stability. The rapid and unregulated expansion of our newest member threatens the delicate balance we have maintained for millennia. He gestured toward Helen with a limb that seemed more energy than matter. Humanity has shown itself incapable of restraint or responsible governance. Helen felt her pulse quicken, but maintained her diplomatic composure. The neural compliance modules were more than mere surveillance devices. They would effectively give the Council direct control over human military and commercial operations, embedding themselves in the nervous systems of every pilot, captain, and high-ranking official. These are not accusations we take lightly, Vell continued, triggering a holographic display. In Sector J3387, human mining operations have increased by 300% in 2 standard cycles. In the Tannhauser Gate region, human vessels have established unauthorized traffic lanes. And most alarmingly, their military fleet has grown by 40% since their probationary period ended. The murmurs among the assembly grew louder. Helen recognized the choreographed nature of this attack. Several smaller civilizations that had previously shown friendship toward Earth now avoided her gaze. When Vell finished, Helen rose to respond. Honorable members, humanity has adhered to every regulation set forth in our charter. Our expansion follows approved protocols. Our fleet growth is within treaty limits, and our resource extraction methods meet all environmental standards. What we refuse to surrender is our sovereignty. Sovereignty? Vell scoffed. You speak of sovereignty while your species multiplies across the stars like a virus? The Neural Compliance Initiative ensures peace through oversight. Every other member has accepted these safeguards. Why should humans be exempt? The vote proceeded swiftly, too swiftly. Despite Helen's impassioned arguments, the measure passed by a narrow margin. Many abstentions came from civilizations too fearful of Sorlith influence to vote no, leaving humanity's fate to the ancient powers who'd already made up their minds. As the result flashed across the Assembly's displays, Helen felt the foundations of her world shift. She stood, her voice steady despite the tremors in her chest. The United Earth government acknowledges the Council's decision. We will now take time to consider our response. The words sounded hollow even to her ears. Everyone knew what they really meant. Back on Earth, President Stone convened an emergency cabinet meeting within the hour. The war room beneath the New Geneva complex filled with Earth's highest-ranking officials, including Admiral Verilevsky, commander of Earth's Space Navy. "They've left us no choice," Stone said, his weathered face showing every hour of lost sleep from recent weeks. "The compliance modules would strip us of any meaningful independence. We become puppets, our every thought monitored and controlled." Admiral Levsky, a stern woman with cybernetic enhancements visible along her jawline, brought up tactical displays. "We've been preparing for this contingency. Our fleet is concentrated in key sectors. If we act decisively, we can secure our existing territories before the Council can respond." Dr. Kaido Murakami, head of Earth's Advanced Propulsion Division, cleared his throat. "There's something else you should know. We've made a breakthrough in quantum phase technology. Our prototype drive can achieve faster-than-light travel without relying on the Council's tachyon network." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. For decades, humanity had depended on the Council's FTL systems, a dependency that had kept them tethered to galactic authority. "How soon can we implement this?" Stone asked. "Small-scale deployment within months," Murakami replied. "Full fleet conversion within a standard year." The decision crystallized. Earth would withdraw from the Galactic Council. Helen delivered the formal declaration the next day. The Grand Assembly Hall, usually buzzing with activity, fell in a stunned silence as she spoke. "On behalf of the United Earth Government and all human colonies, I hereby announce our immediate withdrawal from the Galactic Council. We will not submit to neural control. We will not surrender our autonomy. And we will defend our right to exist as a free species." Chaos erupted. Some representatives shouted in outrage. Others sat in shocked disbelief. Councillor Vell's form flickered with barely contained energy. "You dare," he roared. "You would defy the order that has maintained peace for 10,000 cycles." "We defy tyranny," Helen replied, "and we will forge our own path among the stars." As she turned to leave, flanked by her security detail, Vell's final words echoed through the chamber. "You will regret this decision, Ambassador." The Council does not forgive defiance. The aftermath was immediate and severe. Within days, the Council imposed a total embargo on human worlds. Trade routes were blockaded, medical supplies interrupted, and technological exchanges halted. On the colony world of New Kyoto, food riots broke out when shipments of essential nutrients failed to arrive. On Titan, the industrial complexes that produced critical components for Earth space infrastructure sputtered and failed without specialized parts. President Stone addressed the solar system via quantum entanglement broadcast. "My fellow humans, we face our greatest challenge since our species first looked to the stars. But we are not without hope. We are not without strength. And we are not alone." In the weeks that followed, Earth demonstrated remarkable resilience. Vincent Palmer, CEO of Palmer Industries, converted his manufacturing empire from import-dependent production to domestic alternatives. Agricultural domes on Mars expanded their output, while asteroid mining operations shifted focus to critical minerals previously imported from Council worlds. But the real breakthrough came from Dr. Murakami's team. The quantum phase drive moved from prototype to production with unprecedented speed. The first successful test showed a small probe jumping from Earth to Pluto in mere seconds, bypassing the Council's tachyon gates entirely. "This changes everything," Admiral Levsky declared upon seeing the results. "We're no longer bound by their infrastructure." As humanity adapted to isolation, cracks began to appear in the Council facade. Several younger civilizations, having joined within the last few centuries, watched humanity's defiance with growing interest. The Keth Consortium, masters of miniaturized technology, initiated secret negotiations with Earth, trading vital components for access to the new quantum drive technology. Councillor Vell grew increasingly agitated as reports reached him of these clandestine dealings. The perfect order he'd spent centuries maintaining was beginning to fracture. They must be crushed, he insisted during a closed session with council leadership. If we allow this defiance to stand, others will follow. The council voted to authorize military intervention. A coalition fleet of 37 species assembled at the council's staging grounds, their combined might representing the greatest military force seen in millennia. When long-range sensors detected the approaching armada, Admiral Levski activated Earth's defensive protocols. The new quantum fleet, though smaller than the council forces, possessed unprecedented mobility. Ships equipped with Murakami's drives could appear and disappear at will, striking from unexpected angles and vanishing before counterattacks could be launched. The Battle of Saturn lasted 3 days. The council fleet, expecting conventional warfare, found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to play by established rules. Human ships would quantum jump into the midst of council formations, launch precision strikes that disabled rather than destroyed, then vanish before return fire could target them. "They're not trying to kill us," reported a Sorlith tactical officer. "They're demonstrating superiority without massacre." This restraint confused many in the council fleet. They'd been told humans were barbaric, uncontrolled. Yet here they were, wielding devastating technology with surgical precision. The turning point came when Admiral Levski herself led a strike on the council flagship. Her vessel materialized within weapons range, transmitted a simple message: "We seek peace, not domination." Then quantum jumped away as the flagship systems shut down under a sophisticated cyber attack. Witnessing this defeat, several council members defected mid-battle. The Keth Consortium officially declared independence, followed quickly by 3 other civilizations. The coalition fractured, ships withdrawing in confusion. Back in the Grand Assembly Hall, Councillor Vel watched his empire crumble. Reports flooded in of worlds declaring independence, of trade agreements dissolving, of the ancient order collapsing like a house of cards. "This is your doing," he raged at the empty seat that once belonged to humanity. "You've destroyed everything we built." But humanity hadn't disappeared. They'd simply chosen a different path. 6 months after the Battle of Saturn, representatives from 28 worlds gathered aboard the orbital station New Geneva. Helen Davids, now Minister of Interstellar Relations for the Free Systems Alliance, welcomed each delegation personally. The old order failed because it sought control instead of cooperation, she explained during the opening ceremony. "Our alliance will be different. No neural implants, no force compliance, no hierarchy of elder civilizations dictating to younger ones." They drafted a new charter based on principles of mutual respect, voluntary cooperation, and shared prosperity. The quantum phase drive technology was licensed freely to all members, creating a new network of faster-than-light travel that bypassed council control entirely. Councillor Vel's power base continued to erode. Worlds that had supported his faction out of fear now openly rebelled. The council's military, demoralized by their defeat at Saturn, refused to enforce increasingly desperate edicts. In the end, Vel reached out to Helen through private channels. The once mighty counselor appeared on her screen, his energy dimmed, his posture defeated. "You've won," he said. "The council is finished. Are you satisfied?" Helen regarded him with a mixture of pity and resolve. "We didn't seek to destroy you, counselor. We sought freedom. The old order's collapse was inevitable the moment it chose oppression over understanding. And what now? Will you rule in our place?" "No, we will help build something better. The offer stands if you wish to join us, not as overlord, but as equal partner." Vel terminated the connection without responding. It was the last time he was seen in any official capacity. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, the New Geneva Accord was signed by 43 sovereign worlds. The ceremony took place on Earth, with ships from across the galaxy filling the skies above. President Stone, Admiral Levski, Dr. Murakami, and Minister Helen Davids stood together on the observation deck, watching the celebrations unfold. "We could have ruled them," Levski remarked quietly. "With our technology, we could have replaced the Council entirely and become exactly what we fought against." Helen shook her head. "No, this is better. a community of equals, not subjects. As fireworks burst across Earth's atmosphere, mixing with the lights of hundreds of spacecraft from dozens of species, the new era of galactic civilization began. When humanity forsook the Galactic Council, everything collapsed, but in the ruins, a new galaxy was born. One built not on control and hierarchy, but on freedom and cooperation. The stars belonged to everyone now, and the future stretched before them, vast and full of possibility. The Galactic Council had taken thousands of years to build its empire of control. Humanity had dismantled it in less than a year. But what they built in its place would last far longer. Not because it was imposed from above, but because it grew from the shared dreams of free peoples across the stars. As the celebration continued late into the night, Helen looked out at the assembled fleet and smiled. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. The aftermath of humanity's defiance rippled across the galaxy in unexpected ways. What began as Earth's solitary stand against oppression transformed into a movement that redefined interstellar civilization. The Free Systems Alliance, born from necessity, evolved into a beacon of hope for countless worlds. In the months following the New Geneva Accords, Dr. Murakami's research team pushed the boundaries of quantum technology even further. The second generation of quantum phase drives not only eliminated reliance on tachyon networks, but opened possibilities for exploration beyond the known galaxy. We're not just replacing old technology, Murakami explained during a scientific conference on New Kyoto. We're creating new pathways to places the Council deemed unreachable. This technological renaissance attracted scholars and innovators from across known space. The Keth Consortium shared their miniaturization techniques, while the amphibious Ostran species contributed revolutionary bioadaptive materials. Each civilization brought unique perspectives, creating a synthesis of knowledge impossible under the Council's rigid hierarchy. Meanwhile, the remnants of the Galactic Council struggled to maintain coherence. Councillor Vell had retreated to the Sorlith homeworld, where internal dissent grew louder each day. Younger Sorlith, inspired by humanity's example, began questioning ancient traditions of dominance and control. The humans showed us strength through freedom, a young Sorlith activist named Kiravel proclaimed during a broadcast that reached across former council space. We don't need to rule others to ensure our survival. The movement spread. World after world abandoned the council's authoritarian model, some joining the Free Systems Alliance, others forming smaller coalitions based on shared values and mutual benefit. Admiral Levski, now Supreme Commander of Alliance Defense Forces, implemented a revolutionary military doctrine. Instead of massive fleets meant for territorial control, the Alliance developed rapid response units capable of protecting member worlds from pirates and other threats emerging from the power vacuum. Our strength lies in our mobility and our unity of purpose, she told graduating officers at the newly established Academy of Stellar Defense. We don't conquer, we protect. The economic landscape transformed as well. Vincent Palmer's industrial conglomerate pioneered a new model of distributed manufacturing, allowing colonies to produce essential goods locally while sharing innovations freely. This decentralized approach proved more resilient than the Council's centralized control systems. Competition drives innovation, Palmer declared at the first interspecies economic summit, but cooperation ensures survival. Trade flourished under the new system. Without Council restrictions, resources flowed more efficiently between worlds. The notorious blockade of the Antares Corridor, which had strangled economic growth for centuries, vanished overnight as Alliance ships established new quantum routes. Perhaps most remarkably, first contact protocols underwent radical revision. Unlike the Council's approach of immediate integration and control, the Alliance established observation periods and cultural exchange programs. New civilizations were approached as potential partners, not subjects. When the pre-spaceflight Verdani were discovered in a remote sector, Helen Davids personally led the diplomatic mission. Rather than impose advanced technology, the alliance offered knowledge exchange based on Verdani interests and values. Every civilization must choose its own path to the stars, Helen explained to skeptics who questioned this patient approach. Our role is to ensure they have that choice. 3 years after Earth's withdrawal from the Council, a significant milestone occurred. The last holdout faction of the Old Order, a militaristic confederation known as the Hegemony of Vor, formally dissolved and requested membership in the Free Systems Alliance. The ceremony took place on the rebuilt space station orbiting Saturn, now renamed Unity Station. Representatives from 67 sovereign worlds gathered to witness the historic moment. President Stone, his term nearing its end, addressed the assembly. When we chose to leave the Galactic Council, many predicted our isolation and eventual destruction. Instead, we found strength in solidarity, prosperity in cooperation, and peace in mutual respect. Dr. Murakami unveiled his team's latest breakthrough during the celebration, a prototype device capable of instantaneous communication across galactic distances without quantum entanglement limitations. No more information monopolies, he announced. Every world will have equal access to knowledge and communication. The implications were staggering. Remote colonies could participate in real-time governance. Scientific discoveries could be shared instantly. Cultural exchange would no longer be limited by light-speed delays. As the festivities continued, Helen found herself in conversation with an unexpected guest. A withered figure approached her private observation deck, moving with the careful dignity of extreme age. Counselor Vell had aged dramatically since their last encounter. His once radiant form now flickered weakly, but his eyes retained their intelligence. "I came to see what you've built," he said quietly, "to understand how everything we created could fall so quickly." Helen gestured to the viewport, where ships from dozens of species mingled freely. "You built a prison and called it order. We built a community and called it home." Vell studied the scene for long moments. The Council maintained peace for 10,000 cycles. Through fear and control, Helen countered gently. Peace without freedom is just another form of war. Perhaps, Vell conceded. I spent so long believing in the necessity of control that I couldn't see the chains we forged. He turned to face her directly. Is there room in your alliance for those who once opposed you? Helen smiled. There always was. The question is whether you're ready to see others as equals, not subjects. The former counselor considered this, then slowly nodded. The Sorlith have much to learn about this new way. Will you teach us? We'll learn together, Helen replied. That's what makes us strong. As Vell departed to begin the long process of reconciliation, Admiral Levski joined Helen at the viewport. Never thought I'd see the day, Levski remarked. The architect of our oppression asking for lessons in freedom. Times change, Helen said. Even ancient empires can learn new ways. The Admiral pointed to a sleek vessel emerging from quantum phase space. Speaking of change, have you heard? Dr. Murakami's team thinks they found evidence of civilizations beyond our galaxy. Helen's eyes widened. Truly, early data suggests structured signals from the Andromeda galaxy. If confirmed, it would mean the Council's beliefs about the limits of intelligent life were wrong. The implications settled over them like stardust. The Council had insisted that their domain encompassed all sapient life in the universe. Now humanity's technology might prove that arrogance false. Imagine Helen whispered. Entire galaxies of civilizations, perhaps with their own councils, their own struggles for freedom. Makes our revolution seem small in comparison, Levski mused. No, Helen disagreed. It makes it more important. We've created a model that works. When we make contact with these distant civilizations, we'll have something to offer besides conquest or submission. Throughout the station, the celebration continued, but in quiet corners, planning had already begun. Ships were being prepared for the longest journey ever attempted. Diplomats studied theoretical frameworks for intergalactic relations. Scientists refined quantum phase calculations for traversing the void between galaxies. 5 years after humanity's defiance changed the galaxy, the Andromeda expedition launched. The fleet comprised ships from every member of the Free Systems Alliance, a testament to the unity they'd achieved. Helen Davids, now Ambassador Emeritus, stood beside her former adversary-turned-colleague, Counselor Vell, as they watched the expedition depart. "Do you regret it?" Vell asked. "The destruction of the old order." Helen shook her head. "It wasn't destruction. It was transformation. The Council's collapse freed us all to become something better. And what if these Andromedans have their own council, their own systems of control? Then we'll offer them an alternative," Helen replied with conviction. "Not through force or coercion, but by example. That's the true power of freedom. It spreads, not because it's imposed, but because beings across the universe yearn for it." As the expedition fleet disappeared into quantum phase space, Helen reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a desperate diplomatic mission to prevent humanity's subjugation to the architects of a new galactic order, the path had been neither straight nor easy. Yet looking around at the diverse assembly of beings celebrating together, she knew they had chosen correctly. The old Galactic Council had maintained order through dominance. The Free Systems Alliance fostered growth through liberation. When humanity forsook the Galactic Council, everything collapsed. But from that collapse rose something unprecedented, a civilization built on the radical notion that freedom was not a privilege to be granted, but a right to be recognized. And now, as they reached toward distant galaxies, that simple truth would echo across the cosmos. The future belonged not to those who sought to control it, but to those who dared to set it free. As the years passed, the Free Systems Alliance continued to evolve, becoming an exemplar of interstellar cooperation. The seeds planted by humanity's bold action grew into a forest of progress and innovation that stretched across the known galaxy. On the 10th anniversary of Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, the Alliance convened a historic summit on New Earth, humanity's first fully terraformed colony outside the solar system. Representatives from 93 sovereign worlds gathered in the Grand Assembly, a structure designed to inspire rather than intimidate, with sweeping transparencies that offered unobstructed views of the planet's young oceans and verdant continents. President Elena Rodriguez, who had succeeded Javier Stone, opened the proceedings with a reflection on the decade of transformation. "When we chose freedom over compliance, many predicted chaos. Instead, we discovered that trust breeds stability far more effectively than control ever could." Dr. Murakami, now director of the Intergalactic Research Initiative, presented findings that would have been unthinkable under the old regime. "Our quantum mapping projects have identified over 300 potential civilizations within our galactic neighborhood alone. The Council's doctrine of limited sapience was fundamentally flawed." The presentation sparked intense discussion about the Alliance's approach to first contact. Unlike the Council's practice of immediate absorption, the Alliance had developed a nuanced protocol that prioritized cultural preservation and voluntary association. Admiral Vera Levski, though retired from active service, attended as an honored guest. She watched with satisfaction as younger officers from diverse species demonstrated the new defensive doctrines that prioritized rapid response and minimal force. "We don't maintain peace through the threat of annihilation," explained Commander Thren of the Keth, one of Levski's protégés. "We maintain it through the promise of protection." The Economic Symposium revealed stunning achievements. The distributed manufacturing network pioneered by Vincent Palmer had evolved into a galactic economic web that operated without central control. Resources flowed naturally to where they were needed, guided by algorithms that prioritized fairness over profit. Markets work best when information is free and participation is voluntary, noted economist Sari Thane from the Austrian delegation. The Council tried to manage scarcity. We chose to eliminate it. Perhaps most remarkably, the cultural renaissance fostered by open exchange had produced art, literature, and philosophy that transcended species barriers. The Sorlith epic poet Kira Vell, whose early activism had helped topple the old regime, premiered her masterwork Songs of Liberation to a packed amphitheater. Our stories no longer glorify domination, she told the enraptured audience. They celebrate the courage to change. Helen Davids, now in her 6th decade, but still vibrant with purpose, found herself walking the gardens of New Earth with an unlikely companion. Counselor Rashawn Vell had undergone a profound transformation. Once the embodiment of authoritarian control, he now served as a bridge between the old guard and the new order. I still marvel at what you've accomplished, Vell admitted, his form now maintained by Alliance Medical Technology. My people ruled for millennia, convinced that order required hierarchy. You proved us wrong in a single generation. We didn't prove you wrong, Helen corrected gently. We showed you there was another way. The council wasn't evil, it was just limited. By fear, by tradition, by the belief that power was a zero-sum game. They paused by a fountain where water from Earth mingled with liquids from a dozen worlds, each contributing to a display that would have been impossible under the old separation protocols. The Andromeda expedition sends promising reports, Vell noted. They've made preliminary contact with 3 civilizations. None resemble our concept of a unified galactic government. Helen nodded. Perhaps that's the real lesson. There's no single right way to organize intelligent life. The universe is vast enough for infinite possibilities. As the summit continued, groundbreaking announcements emerged daily. The Alliance unveiled plans for artificial worlds that could house species with incompatible environmental needs. A breakthrough in quantum consciousness research promised to revolutionize interspecies communication. Most ambitious of all, theoretical physicists proposed methods for creating stable wormholes that could link galaxies. The crown jewel of the celebration was the dedication of the monument to Unity, a colossal structure that rose from New Earth's primary continent. Unlike the imposing architecture of the old council, this monument invited interaction. Visitors could add their own elements, creating an ever-evolving testament to collective achievement. At the dedication ceremony, representatives from every member world contributed something unique. The humans offered a simple plaque with the words that had sparked the revolution. We will not submit to neural control. We will not surrender our autonomy. And we will defend our right to exist as a free species. The Sorlith presented a crystal containing the light patterns of their homeworld. The Keth brought nanoscale sculptures visible only through specialized viewers. The Osiran contributed living coral that would grow and change with the monument itself. As twilight fell over New Earth, the celebration reached its crescendo. Ships from across the Alliance performed synchronized maneuvers that painted the sky with light, while ground-based displays created images visible from orbit. In a private moment away from the festivities, the core leadership gathered. President Rodriguez, Admiral Levski, Dr. Murakami, and Ambassador Davids stood together, reflecting on the journey. Did you ever imagine this? Rodriguez asked. When you made that declaration in the council chambers, did you foresee all of this? Helen smiled. I hoped. But hope was all we had then. That, and the conviction that freedom was worth any risk. The risks haven't disappeared, Levski reminded them. There are still pockets of resistance, groups that long for the old order's certainty. But they're fewer each year, Murakami noted. And more importantly, they're heard. We don't silence dissent, we address it. That's our greatest strength, Helen said. The council feared disagreement and suppressed it. We embrace it as the source of growth. As the night deepened, a message arrived from the Andromeda expedition. The team had successfully established formal relations with a civilization that operated on principles of collective consciousness rather than individual identity. It was unlike anything encountered before, yet they were finding common ground through shared curiosity and respect. The universe is stranger and more wonderful than we ever imagined, Murakami mused, reading the report. And we're just beginning to explore it. The next morning brought the closing ceremonies. Helen Davids took the podium one final time, addressing not just those present but billions watching across the Alliance. 10 years ago, we chose a path that many thought would lead to isolation and decline. Instead, we discovered that true strength comes from lifting others up, not holding them down. As we look to the future, as we reach out to distant galaxies and unknown civilizations, let us remember the principles that brought us here. Freedom is not just the absence of oppression. It is the presence of opportunity. Cooperation is not weakness. It is the recognition that we are stronger together than apart. And progress is not about replacing one hierarchy with another. It is about creating systems that allow every being to reach their full potential. When humanity forsook the Galactic Council, everything collapsed. But we didn't destroy, we transformed. We didn't reject order, we redefined it. And in doing so, we opened doors to possibilities beyond imagination. The galaxy, the universe, awaits us not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners in the greatest adventure of all, the exploration of what we can become when we dare to be free. As applause thundered through the assembly, ships across 100 worlds fired ceremonial beacons into space, marking the beginning of a new era. The message they carried was simple but profound. The age of empires had ended. The age of alliance had begun. And somewhere in the vast darkness between galaxies, the Andromeda expedition received those beacons, adding their own to the growing chorus of light that proclaimed to the universe. Freedom had found its voice, and it would never be silenced again. When humanity forsook the Galactic Council, everything collapsed, but in the ruins, a new galaxy was born.